All right, who can tell me what, now, every time we do bell ringer, guys, and I want you to understand this, okay? This is, you have to understand this. Every time we do bell ringer, I put a word up there that has to do with 99% of the time social studies. Social studies, okay? So when you're getting this definition, sometimes you'll look up the word and there'll be 3 or 4 different meanings. You have to pick out the one that you think goes with what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, so when I put up standard, you can probably figure out through your years, especially last year, because I know your 6th grade teachers talked about your standards. So who can tell me what they think standard means, the one I'm looking for?
Level of quality or attainment.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. See, every time someone talks, they add something and kind of push us to where we want to go each time. Okay?
Used or accepted as normal or average.
We're getting there. Now, I bet if you went back and looked at the definitions, you say, oh, the standards that teachers tell us are our standards. Did Mrs. Ackerman or Mr. Robinson talk about, did Mr. Robinson talk about standards for math?
Oh.
Did Mrs. Ackerman talk about social studies standards? No, what do you think?
Used or accepted as normal or average.
We're getting there.
Being established by authority.
We're getting there. We're slowly getting there. I want you to think, if you need to go back and look at those definitions, say, all right, teaching standards, school standards.
An expectation.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. We're getting there.
Something established by authority, custom, or general.
Kind of morphing things together here.
Ideas about morality, correct and acceptable behavior.
An idea or thing used as a measure, norm, or model in comparative values.
Okay, let's say the beginning of that again.
An idea or thing used as a measure, norm, or model.
Okay, measure. I can't remember who else said something a second ago about an expectation. Okay, so let's think about when teachers talk about standards. They're basically expectations. They're measurements. Okay, so I want to keep these things in mind, and they have to do with learning. We're going to jump into and look at our social studies standards. And before I even start talking about all the awesome stuff, I can't wait to get into it. We're going to talk about Kansas geography, and of course we'll go over some basics. But you guys, why Kansas is so awesome? Well, agriculture, but they're small towns. We're going to look into the everyday life of a small town here in Kansas and examine it and understand why do small towns do what they do. Let's talk about the people of small towns and the culture of small towns. National Geographic, back in 2003, did a big spread on a town called Cuba, Kansas. And we're going to go into that. We're going to look at that. We're going to Skype with the actual National Geographic photographer that did that big story and spread in here. We're going to have a lot of fun with it, okay? So before we get into all that stuff, we got to understand our 5 standards in social studies. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to hand out to you a sheet here. Maybe if I can find what I did with it. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to hand out this sheet to you, and we're going to have some of the stuff to put in our hit book. But we got to be really good about. Now I know. Hey, now listen. With those champs expectations, look at me. Look at me. I'm giving direct instruction now, aren't I? So what is it, why is it important, what is it, the important thing that you gotta do when I'm giving direct instruction? Somebody raise their hand. Listen, should you be playing with a pencil? Should you be messing with a notebook right now? No notebook messing. What should your hands be doing? Nothing. What should your eyes be doing? Following me. What should your ears be? Open. So right now, your hands should not be getting anything except for the paper that I pass out. Okay? I know you'll do a great job. We'll follow. Now, let's look at this whole standard thing a little bit deeper. What are standards? Now, I'm not asking you that, and I'm going to do a little less talking right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have your small groups right now that you're in. You're going to take a look at this question. We kind of got some ideas, measurement, expectations, guides. We kind of got some words associated with what a standard is that we use in school. Now, we have these little things that I put mine on my desk, but you guys, I encourage you to bring your phones and devices to class. These are tools for you to use while you're having a small group discussion. So if you pull up Google and you say, why are standards important for school? Or what is the meaning? Oh, here's a good one. What is the definition of a school standard? That's a dandy one. Okay? And use that to help you figure out how would your group put into your own words what a standard is. That's what your group needs to figure out right now. By a show of thumbs, show me if you understand what I just told you to do in your small group. Got it? Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go. And then we're going to reconvene and I'm going to ask each group what they came up with. Let's go. Okay. So, I've been walking around and listening to some of your groups. Give me your attention now. What a standard is. Now, I think some of you are looking for I gotta find that spot on definition. And I think some of you are like, well, what is the standard? Well, if I had to say to the rest of my peers, the students, what I think a standard is, minus the definition, and just put it into my words, what would I say a standard is? Now, a standard means something different to me as a teacher than a standard means to you. I look at a standard differently than you look at a standard. Okay? Now, I won't tell you my meaning yet. I want to hear what you guys came up with on what you think a standard is. So why don't we start here? What you guys think? And I'll put down kind of an abbreviated version up here on the board so we can all look at
We thought that a standard was how teachers will teach you the things that they want you to know for the test, and when they teach you that, then they know what grade you should get on a test and stuff, because they taught you stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to abbreviate all that. How about what we should know? Is that what you're trying to get at? Okay. That's a good answer, though. What we should know. Okay. Good start. How about back here?
We thought it was a goal or requirement that you have to meet.
I am so impressed with the 7th grade. You guys come up a goal or requirement. Now listen, some other groups may have that, and that means we were just exceeding expectations. You guys, if we have groups that get these same things, it means everybody's on the same page. Okay? What about back here?
We thought standard meant something that someone or a product or something is supposed to meet, I guess. Something has to fulfill these certain requirements.
So if I'm, you're kind of guiding me to a word here, a finish line,
Yeah.
so to say? Is that what you're looking for? Like the end point, where you need to be,
Yeah.
where they kind of tell. So let me ask you this, Ethan: does the standard help you know where a teacher wants you to go, where they want what they want you to accomplish? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it's like what you should be able to.
Oh, what you should be able to do. Yeah, okay. Okay, or like maybe a skill. I'm guessing maybe if you're, have you ever been in Mr. Johnson's class, maybe one of his standard is, he has it as a skill that you should be able to do, like operate a piece of equipment is probably one of his standards. Absolutely, that would be a skill. That's good. Good. How about back here?
Rules you're expected to follow?
Well, I think, you know what? I think we could probably bunch that into the one up here, the requirements, the goals. So again, we're on the same page. We got groups on the same page. How about here?
Learning progressions,
What's that mean?
like goals, kind of.
Okay, so, okay.
You say like goals and basically it's
Were you the group that said, oh, was that you guys? And they said,
yeah.
okay. What'd you guys come up with?
The expectations.
So, kind of something bunched into that, expectations. You know what, I don't mind. I think I'm going to put that word. So that is really, really good chart we got there. So here's the hard part. How are we going to put this? As you notice that sheet I gave you at the top, it says what is a standard? So how are we as a class going to look at that right there and put together an answer that we feel is easy to understand on what a standard is? So here's the deal. Don't write anything down when I give you another breakout session, but kind of brainstorm and maybe jot down on a piece of scratch paper, how would you want the answer to look for that first box? Got it? Let's go. Okay, so let's you use this list. I heard some really good discussions going on in your small group. So it brings us to this, not that one, it brings us here, right? What are standards and what would we write in that box for what we would want to, our wording of what a standard is. So I'm curious to hear what you guys kind of came up with, because I kind of got an idea. So let's see if we can get to that point. Okay, so what you guys say?
We thought it was like a goal or expectation that we should be able to accomplish and know how to accomplish it.
Oh, you're so close to that, just being a home run on the first pitch. How about back there?
We had almost the same thing. So requirement, expectations, or goals are
So close. You're so close.
Expectations or goals that you should be able to reach.
It sounds like you all kind of got the same thing going on. How about right here?
goals and expectations of what we should know and what we should be able to do.
Again, kind of the same thing. How about here?
The goal and requirement matches expectations that we should be able to meet for future educational purposes.
We're getting super close.
Goals or requirements we should meet.
Okay, so here's the deal. What did you guys say over here? What was your wording?
A goal or expectation you should be able to accomplish, know how to accomplish it.
What'd you write?
A goal or expectation you should be able to accomplish and know how to accomplish at the end of a unit or school year.
You need to take out, let's see here, if we took out, it says a goal or expectation you should be able to accomplish at the end of the,
Time period.
well, yeah, you had unit, or you said what?
School year.
School year. So if I put up these 5 standards and I say, look, we've got a long year ahead of us. These are the 5 standards I want you to be able to master and understand. Am I going to expect you to understand and master those standards by the end of, say, our first unit? Or is it going to be a process? So it should it be unit or school year?
School year.
So she's going to, you all had the same thing. That's the cool thing about this is we all went around the room and you're all on the same page. So you all had the definition. You were just missing, what are we going to put? Are we going to put chapter? Are we going to put unit? Are we going to put school year? So read that.
A goal or expectation you should be able to accomplish at the end of a school year.
You can write that down in that rectangle. Now, I would probably add a little bit. I think that expectation and goal, you could almost put in there goal, expectation, goal, comma, expectation, and skills. Because obviously there's skills, right? If I give you a standard on what I want you to, how to become a better writer, writing's a skill, is it not? Learning how to use the buzzsaw in Wood's class is a skill, correct? Okay. So I think it could be a goal, an expectation. It could even be a skill that you need to not only accomplish, but adding the word master. You need to be able to master this skill by the end of the year, or do it to the best of your ability. There's so many things that we could put in here to this definition of standard. Now, when you look at that, is it easy to understand? Coming into today, you always hear teachers, oh, we got to do standard, we got to meet this standard, meet this standard. How many of you, with a show of hands, well, that's fine and dandy, I just don't know what a standard is. Have you ever had that thought cross your mind when you hear, we got to meet the standard, got to meet the standard? What's a standard? What's a standard you speak of? So maybe now, before we even get into talking about our standards, you get what a standard is. Okay? You get what a standard is. Now, what are we going to do when we continue this process? We want to talk why are standards important. And then we'll get into actually the 5 social studies standards that I have behind curtain number 1. Unfortunately, there's no door prizes I have. I gave you M&M's yesterday, for goodness sake.
And Oreos.
And Oreos, right? Huh? Well, let's talk about that in a little bit. So, for right now, because we're going to do the wall project here, that's going to conclude our talk on standards. And we're going to pick up on Monday. The ultimate goal is, with the iPads, our project we're going to do is we're going to create, okay, I'm direct instruction right now. We're going to create iMovies over our social studies standards. So we're going to have a little fun. We're going to have a little fun next week.